Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Kris. Sorry, I had to see if I was glitching. This is going to be two parts. Right there. This is 3 photos with seriously disturbing backstories. See me click that. I'm already subscribed. Click, click. That's how easy it was, completely free. If you could do that for me, I'm not asking for a whole lot. If you want to donate to the channel, you can. That's not free. Throw some money, request, and then your name is sponsoring that video. You've seen it done. If you're new to the channel, you haven't seen it done. So it'd be Kris Reacts, your name sponsored, 3 photos with seriously disturbing backstories. It's my way of saying thank you. You can still request without donating, just takes a little more time. Okay, so this will be 2 videos. Let's get to it right now.
Some pictures are more than meets the eye. They tell stories of horror, mystery, and misfortune. Today, we're diving into some of the most unsettling photos ever captured, from the haunting face of South Korea's infamous Black Widow, to the chilling aftermath of the doomed MS Estonia, and perhaps the most disturbing ink blot test you'll ever see. These images are bound to stay with you long after the video ends. But just before we get into them, have you ever gotten an email saying your password's been part of a data breach? Or maybe you've started getting an insane amount of spam calls and texts out of micro straight to and government with my images for affecting yourself today. Nestled snugly between Miami and Fort Lauderdale lies the USA's other Hollywood, the palm-dotted East Coast city of Hollywood, Florida, known for its long sunny days, even longer sandy beaches, and for some rather colourful residents, like the infamous Bjork stalker, Ricardo Lopez. Indeed, although it might seem like paradise, Hollywood's crime rate is significantly higher than the national average. And so perhaps it's no surprise that the city was also the backdrop for another of America's most depraved incidents. At 12:30 p.m. on July 27th, 1981.
I know about this one and it's just gut-wrenching. Sorry, I just poured a soda. I'm eating a little bit of key lime pie, so if you see me eating, it's just a snack.
6-year-old Adam Walsh and his mother, Reve, entered the Hollywood Mall, now known as the Hollywood Hills Plaza, and made their way to Sears. While Reve spoke with a member of staff about a lamp on sale, Adam hung back in the toy department, and specifically at the store's Atari 2600 kiosk, where several other boys were taking turns playing video games. After Reve finished her errand, she returned to the Atari kiosk, but Adam and the other youngsters were nowhere to be seen. Reve found an employee and had Adam paged over the PA system, though it soon became clear he wasn't in the store anymore. She ran from shop to shop looking for him, when by chance she ran into her mother-in-law, Jean Walsh, who immediately joined the frantic search. Police stationed just across the street arrived to investigate. Reve insisted that she had only left Adam at the kiosk for 10 minutes at most, though a store employee claimed it had been closer to an hour. With no way of knowing how far he may have gone in that time, authorities launched a massive manhunt. Helicopters, canal boats, 50 officers, and 100 volunteers scoured the area, but there was no sign of Adam anywhere. According to the store manager, while Reve was inquiring about the lamp, a scuffle had broken out at the Atari console. Several boys were seen arguing over whose turn it was to play, and the store's young and inexperienced security guard stepped in to break it up. Assuming Adam was part of their group, he ushered all of them out through the west exit and into the parking lot. 6-year-old Adam, who was too shy to speak up, did as he was told. Outside, the other boys quickly scattered, leaving Adam by himself. Later, multiple witnesses came forward, claiming they saw a tall, white male in his 40s leading Adam towards a vehicle. Frustratingly, no one caught the license plate. Adam's parents, John and Reve Walsh, were left feeling helpless. At the time, the FBI's national database could track stolen cars and even stolen horses, but not stolen kids. In fact, there was no centralized system for law enforcement agencies to share information on abductions at all. 2 men were questioned in connection with Adam's disappearance, including a man rumored to be having an affair with Reve, and the son of a family friend who had been acting strangely, but both were ultimately cleared.
Okay. I didn't know anything about being ushered out into a parking lot. That's new to me. Also, the interview with someone she was potentially having an affair with, that's new to me. So, yeah. Wow.
For 2 agonizing weeks, Adam's whereabouts remained a mystery. Then, on August 10th, that mystery took a horrifying turn. A severed head was discovered in a drainage canal near the Florida Turnpike in Vero Beach, about 125 miles from Hollywood. Despite this grim discovery, John and Reve Walsh appeared on national television the next morning, still clinging to hope that Adam was alive. But just after their appeal went out, the authorities confirmed the worst. The head belonged to Adam. The coroner ruled Adam's COD as asphyxiation and determined that his life had ended several days before his head was found. The rest of his body was never recovered. It wouldn't be until 2 years later that a suspect finally emerged. Otis Toole, a convicted serial killer and drifter, already serving time on unrelated charges. While behind bars, Otis had confessed to multiple murders, and now he was claiming responsibility for Adam's. Speaking with investigators, Otis described what happened that fateful afternoon. He said that he had spotted Adam standing alone outside Sears and lured him into his white 1971 Cadillac Sedan DeVille with promises of toys and candy. Waiting inside the vehicle was his partner in crime, Henry Lee Lucas. Together, they took Adam north on Interstate 95 towards Jacksonville. Otis's bizarre plan, he later claimed, was to make Adam his adopted son. Initially compliant, Adam began to panic during the drive, and, unable to calm him down, the boy's captors drove him to a remote service road in northwest St. Lucie County, where Otis strangled him with a seatbelt, and Henry sliced off his head with a machete. Otis later buried Adam's torso and disposed of his head separately after keeping it in the back of his car for several days. It seemed like law enforcement had their man. Otis not only fit the physical description of the perpetrator, but he was also known to have been in the area on the day that Adam vanished. But there was a problem. His story was riddled with inconsistencies. And for one, his supposed accomplice, Henry Lee Lucas, was already in prison on the day Adam was taken. On top of that, the coroner believed that Adam hadn't been butchered the day he vanished, but may have been kept alive for as long as 11 days. When confronted with these contradictions, Otis changed his story. He now claimed that he had acted alone, and that after keeping Adam at his home in Jacksonville for a while, he took the boy's life, burned his body, and ate parts of it. But when he was asked to pick out Adam's photo from a lineup, he failed, explaining that he had been too drunk at the time to remember the boy's face. Otis clearly wasn't telling the whole story. Many questioned whether he was telling the truth at all. Both he and his longtime accomplice, Henry, were notorious for making false confessions, only to later retract them. And beyond that, Adam's murder didn't even match their usual MO. While investigators did find blood on the carpet of Otis's car, they were unable to determine its source. Worse yet, the police had mishandled key pieces of evidence. The bloodstained carpet? Lost. The machete allegedly used in the crime? Gone. Even the car itself, sold to a junkyard for $50. With no physical evidence to back up Otis's confession, authorities deemed his admission unreliable, and he was never formally charged. In 1996, Otis Toole died of cirrhosis at the age of 49, while serving 5 life sentences for other slayings.
He's 49? Good God, he looks like he's in his 70s, man. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad he's dead. Wow. Oh, God.
Over the years, he confessed multiple times to taking Adam Walsh's life. Then again, he also claimed responsibility for nearly every unsolved homicide in the US since the mid-1970s. But on his deathbed, Otis made one final, private confession to his niece, insisting that he was responsible for ending Adam's life, and that he got away with it thanks to police incompetence. For years, Adam's case remained officially unsolved. Determined to uncover the truth, his parents hired retired Miami detective Joe Matthews to conduct an independent investigation. Detective Matthews re-examined overlooked evidence, including a set of 98 undeveloped photos from Otis Toole's car, taken at the time of his initial arrest.
I don't understand how you can take in pictures and not develop them. You're taking pictures involved in crimes. The person says they murdered someone. You took pictures. Do something with them. I'm self-editing myself, by the way. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Which in particular stood out. An interior shot of the Cadillac's rear carpet, where luminol, a chemical used to detect traces of blood, had revealed a chilling pattern. So, let me ask you, can you see anything in this macabre Rorschach test? Because Detective Matthews could.
I believe this is the image that he's talking about. And I'll let him say it.
According to him, this is the imprint of Adam's face, left behind on the carpet after his head was tossed onto the car's rear footwell. You can actually see his image, Matthews wrote in his book, Bringing Adam Home. It's as clear as the Shroud of Turin. Now, could this be a case of pareidolia, the psychological phenomenon where the brain sees familiar patterns, like faces, where they don't actually exist? Maybe. But one thing is certain. There was a significant amount of blood on Otis Toole's floorboard. Unfortunately, forensic technology at the time wasn't advanced enough to determine whether the blood belonged to Adam or one of his other victims, and by the time DNA analysis had progressed enough to test it, the carpet, along with the rest of the car, had vanished. In 2008, with new police chief Chad Wagner at the helm, authorities conducted a thorough review of Adam's case. Then, on December 16th, the chief officially announced that Otis Toole was responsible for Adam's slaying. He cited overwhelming circumstantial evidence and the findings of the Matthews investigation as the basis for his conclusion. But not everyone was convinced. Given Otis Toole's history of false confessions and the loss of so much critical evidence, many questioned the chief's verdict. Some believe the true culprit was never caught. A few
I think with it being so long ago, you're never going to get that car. You're never going to get any of that evidence. And based off of those pictures, I understand he lied a lot, but you lie 99 times out of 100. You can't assume that all 100 are lies. Do you understand? He could be telling the truth about the killing of Adam Walsh, but he's lied about a lot of other things. That doesn't mean everything gets thrown away. I think it's him, but my opinion doesn't matter. His father, John Walsh, believes it was him. Yeah, I mean,
who even suspect Jeffrey Dahmer, who was in the area at the time. Whatever the truth, the Walsh family were finally permitted to reclaim Adam's head, which had been kept in the morgue as evidence for the past 27 years, and were finally able to give him a proper burial. His parents, John and Reve, turned their grief into action, helping found the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. His father even became the host of America's Most Wanted, aiding in the capture of over 1,100 fugitives and reuniting missing children with their families.
Great show, and to be able to take that grief and turn it into what he did, that's amazing.
Adam Walsh's story not only reshaped the way that missing children cases are handled, but also ignited a movement that saved countless lives. And though questions still linger about the true identity of his killer, his legacy, at least, still lives on.
You have to wonder. Adam Walsh is never killed. He's never taken. He's never killed. John Walsh has no reason to get into this. John Walsh does not save 1,100 people or bring 1,100 people to justice. If that was somebody else's kid, are they strong enough to turn that grief into fuel for a fire that's inside that is going to say, okay, no, I cannot allow this to happen to another child? Don't know. So for society, if he's guilty, Otis Toole basically got somebody, the wrong person. He took someone's life, and that kid's father was the wrong person to do that to because he sparked change. When if he would have done it to somebody else, like let's say it was me, I can't say that I would do that. Not saying it's right or wrong. We all handle grief our own way. But if I don't do that, another kid gets killed and then another kid gets killed. I mean, you're not going to stop it all, but him doing that helped a lot of people. Could the next person have been able to do that? I don't think they would have or could have. I think there are certain people that can do that. Think of how many children get killed. And a lot of parents are just so absorbed in that grief that they don't have that ability. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some can't. Like I say, we all mourn differently. And some, that is like the sun for fuel. It's just nonstop.
On Wednesday, September 28th, 1994, the MS Estonia, a massive cruise ferry carrying 989 souls, was making a routine trip across the Baltic Sea, travelling from Tallinn to Stockholm. But that night, the voyage was anything but smooth. An autumn storm had rolled in, and powerful waves battered the vessel as it pushed through the rough waters. Most passengers, feeling the ship's relentless swaying, had opted to stay in their cabins, hoping to sleep through the storm. That is, until approximately 1 AM, when a loud, metallic bang echoed through the bow doors. Over the next 10 minutes, more passengers and crew reported hearing unsettling noises reverberating throughout the ship. Deep, ominous clangs, as if something massive was shifting or breaking apart. At approximately 1:14 AM, disaster struck. The ship's visor, a 50-ton structure that sealed the front of the vessel, is believed to have torn away from the ship, ripping open the loading ramp behind it. Water surged onto the vehicle deck, and within minutes, the MS Estonia began to list heavily to starboard. At 1:20 AM, the ship's public address system crackled to life. A quiet, female voice came through the speakers, speaking in Estonian. "Alarm! Alarm! There is an alarm on the ship." Instead of immediately broadcasting a universal distress signal, the MS Estonia first attempted to contact the Silja Europa, a nearby ferry. At that point, third mate Andres Tams took over communications for the Estonia, and the conversation shifted to Finnish.
This Estonia. Kuka se on siellä? Hiljarova Estonia.
Yes, Estonia, this is Siljaro.
Hyvää huomenta, puhutko se suomea?
Joo, puhun suomea.
Joo, meillä on nyt tässä ongelma. On paha kallistuma oikealle puolelle. Uskon, että oli 30 astetta. Voisitko se tulla apuun ja pyytää myös Viking Linein apun?
Joo, Viking Line on tässä perässä ja meni varmaan tietoon. Ja voitko antaa sun position?
Siis meillä pätkit on, meillä on blackout ja emme saa nyt, mä en osaa sanoa sitä
Okei, selvä. Ryhdytään toimiin.
Andres managed to relay some key details about the ship's worsening condition, but there was one critical problem. He couldn't provide Estonia's exact location. A power outage had disabled vital navigation equipment, leaving the vessel in the dark. This caused a delay in rescue efforts. A few minutes later, power briefly returned to the ship, or possibly someone on the bridge managed to reach the starboard side and check the marine GPS, which can display a ship's location, even in blackout conditions. With this, Andres was finally able to transmit the Estonia's coordinates. In Finnish, a haunting, desperate transmission crackled through the speakers.
Todella pahalta näyttää se nyt tässä kyllä.
Andres Tams would not survive the sinking. Initially tilting at 15 degrees, the Estonia's list rapidly worsened, reaching 60 degrees by 1:30. Passengers screamed, ran from their cabins, and scrambled for any way to escape. One survivor later recalled, "It was clear there was no rescue operation. You knew you had to get off that ship yourself." Then the ship lurched to port and slowed, before losing power entirely as all 4 engines failed. In near total darkness, the rapid flooding and extreme tilt made it nearly impossible for most passengers to reach the upper deck. Stairwells turned into waterfalls, and corridors became death traps as decks filled with water in seconds. By 1:50 a.m., the MS Estonia was at a 90-degree tilt. The ship sank approximately 41 kilometers south of Uto Island, Finland. Another boat, the Mariella, arrived at 2:12 a.m., and the first rescue helicopters arrived at 3:05. Of the 989 people aboard the Estonia, 852 perished. Most never even made it topside. They were pulled under with the ship, their bodies unrecoverable. Of the 310 passengers who did reach the top deck, only 137 survived. The rest fell victim to hypothermia or drowned in the freezing Baltic waters while awaiting rescue. One of the men who went into those frigid waters, having not made it into a life raft, was Mikko Ern, a truck driver who still had his camera on hand. Knowing that he had soon succumbed to the cold, he began taking pictures, hoping that his camera's flash would catch the attention of passing ships. As he did, he inadvertently caught these haunting pictures of another man sitting on the upturned hull of the ship. That man was later identified as Jano Assa. Though the film was heavily damaged by seawater, these 2 images survived, as did the 2 men. Both Mikkel and Jano managed to swim to a life raft, but even there, the horror continued. As they waited for rescue, several of their raft mates froze to death around them. The sinking of MS Estonia stands as the 3rd deadliest peacetime sinking of a European vessel, surpassed only by the RMS Empress of Ireland and the RMS Titanic.
Wow, I didn't know anything about that. Wow. R.I.P. to them. Man. Middle of the night, too. Oh. That's just scary. That's just scary. Okay. Well, we're going to end this on a terrible note. We'll be back with part 2. I don't take cruises and just a fear of something like that. Oh, it's just scary. Well, anyways, we're going to end it here for part 1. We'll be back with part 2. Until then, have a good day, have a good night.